Welcome to Comment Cocktails. Today we're going to talk about some exotic spirits, or what are really more commonly known as modifier spirits, or the flavoring agents for specific cocktails. So if you have a bunch of these random ingredients, or you're thinking of which ingredients you should buy, or you see them used in the show and you're totally confused, hopefully this aligns you and you can have a better understanding of what you should be doing with this stuff. So this video comes out because I put out a message out on facebook.com/cocktailtv. That's our Facebook page. And I said, hey guys, I'd like to make a video. We've got a recording coming up this Saturday and I needed something for Thursday. What do you guys think would be a good video? Lots of people suggesting beer videos, which is odd because we have done some beer reviews and they usually get like a quarter of the views anything else gets. And I was like, let's do something cooler that people might be interested in. Peggy Perry wrote in saying, hey, I'd like to know what to do with some of these things I don't understand, like elderflower liqueur and fernet-branca, and how does this play in cocktails, and should I spend the money? I've already spent the money and I don't know what to do with it. So now we're going to solve that problem for Peggy and more than likely everybody else who has the same type of question. So let's get started. The first thing I wanted to cover was some of those orange liqueurs that might not necessarily be orange liqueurs, sweeter, flavorful type of things, and you're not sure where to use them. Stuff like Liquor 43. So Liquor 43, this guy here plays into primarily cocktails that call for a vanilla influence or a sweeter influence with some citrus notes. So think citrus and vanilla works great if you're creating margaritas and you're looking to make your margarita a little bit different. Maybe you're used to using Grand Marnier. It costs a little bit too much, or you're just bored of it. Liquor 43 can play into that. Can play into your daiquiris. It can substitute a lot of places where simple syrup's called for because it's freaking sweet. I try to break them up into some sections here. So this section over here, I deem as like, if you're making tiki drinks, there's actually a cross-pollination here. If you're creating tiki drinks, these three ingredients might be things that you're going to be interested in. So I'm going to throw this back over here because this is the classic area as well. Start with allspice dram. What the hell is that? Think of it like this. It's allspice, very focused. There will be a little clove note to it. Think of like their East Indian trade spices, things you see in some of the historic cocktails for tiki time, like people who drink tiki cocktails. Tiki is it tends to be spice oriented along with rums. So if you're going to be creating rum cocktails or anything from like a Beach Bum Berry book or maybe Don the Beachcomber recipes, you might see allspice dram or allspice liqueur called for. And now you're like, but Derek, I don't know which recipes that would be. I have you covered. So if you go to recipe.awesomedrinks.com like I'm doing right now and you search for the words, we'll click on the tab for ingredient search and start typing allspice, you're going to see an autocomplete for allspice dram/liqueur. Click search ingredients and you're going to find all the recipes that we have currently listed that I believe are recipes worth making. I don't just throw every recipe out there. They have to be qualified through the show by our host going, this is a worthy drink. So this returns 3 hits on recipe.awesomedrinks.com. 3 dots and a dash, ancient mariner, and the nui nui. All kind of falling into that tiki style. Velvet falernum. Here's an interesting one. You can get syrups from like BG Reynolds and you might be able to find some Google searches for some DIY recipes. I do want to make a video for that in the future, so stay tuned for DIY, do it yourself, falernum at home using simple syrup. This is a liqueur, velvet falernum. Basically, think of cloves, lime, citrus flavor, almond, kind of a hybrid of an orgeat. Also used in a ton of tiki recipes, think Mai Tai. So you've got that almond flavor and a huge clove presence. Again, trade spices. So they have a little bit in common, although you're going to see less allspice influence in a velvet falernum. It could still be there, however, depending on the recipe that's used. It just won't be the predominant flavor like a standard allspice liqueur would. So we'll set aside the absinthe for now, but you'll find that's also a tiki thing. Next in line, these kind of fit with your lighter, clear spirits. Think vodkas and gins and stuff like that. It also fits with things that have effervescence, floral flavors, carbonation. So think champagnes, club sodas, tonics. So your gin and tonic, add yourself the influence of elderflower liqueur, and you're heading in the direction of that floral flavors that you're going to get from a gin, but now you're amping it up with a little bit more of that elderflower. It's like running through a field of flowers, and you're like, this is awesome. So if you like to have that floral flavor added into your cocktails, it's a great addition. Usually someplace between 1/4 of an ounce or a 1/2 ounce is usually enough. It is going to be sweeter, but very big floral presence. Gives you a bouquet on the nose, especially for just standard champagnes, champagne cocktails with a little dash. Ginger liqueur kind of falls in that same line. However, there's a lot of ginger substitutes you can use, like ginger bitters, ginger ale, ginger beer. Things that often call for ginger tend to have those in them. Maybe a Moscow Mule with ginger to make it like more exciting. This bottle is almost gone. We have a little bit left. I wouldn't say it's used too much, but you could probably check some recipes. Ginger's Lost Island. That's the only recipe we have out here. Ginger liqueur, fresh lime juice, apple juice, agave nectar, and mezcal. So you will find that mezcal tends to pair strong with ginger, but it might be muddled ginger or different types of ginger like we've said. But ginger liqueur is out there for you if you enjoy the ginger flavor. Next up is Luxardo liqueur. This is a cherry liqueur that doesn't taste like cherries. It's a maraschino cherry distillate. So if you enjoy Luxardo maraschino cherries and the sweet syrupy flavors of cherries, this is not the same thing. This has more of an earthy tone, earthy texture. It will bring a little bit of the back-end cherry influence, but I would say only once you've gone through a few bottles, you've acclimated your palate to this stuff. It was one of the things I could not yet grasp when I started this show. If you go back years, you're going to see me rave about how much this is not worth buying. I've 180'd, 360, no, 180 because 360 would put me back here. 180 on that and said, this is the thing you should own. So if you've been following along and building cocktails with us, you may have adapted your palate to this. Some good examples of this. I'm just going to say off the top of my head, I got a couple. I would go personally with the Dorchester, Division Bell, Aviation, Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Both are, I believe, derivatives of either a Martini or a Manhattan. Decepticon, Demerara Dry Float, that's a tiki. Division Bell, which I said. Hemingway Daiquiri, so if you made a daiquiri with a little bit amped up rum along with maraschino cherry liqueur, boom, it changes the drink dramatically and makes it taste better. Or at least more interesting. I wouldn't say better. Martinez, Red Hook, Rising Sun, the Dorchester, and the last word, another one. What you're going to see is we're moving into these ingredients that bartenders typically use, except for these two outliers, where you'll see they're the secret recipe in a lot of classic cocktails. They'll call for 1/4 ounce of Luxardo or 1/4 ounce of absinthe or a dash of this or a dash of that. So Luxardo plays well into a lot of the old-time recipes, and I think it's kind of got more of a comeback with the craft cocktail movement where you're going to see Luxardo used in a lot of drinks. So if you're just looking for something to buy, I would highly suggest picking up Luxardo because you're going to probably encounter it if you're making some of these more crafty cocktails. Next is absinthe. Two variations on absinthe. Red. No, that's stupid. Don't get red. I think that does exist though. Clear and green. Both of these guys are going to bring you wormwood flavor, bitterness, and a lot of fennel, star anise, black licorice, black jelly beans for all those things that might get you aligned for what that flavor profile is going to be. If you don't like the taste of a black jelly bean or sambuca, you're probably not going to enjoy absinthe that much. You can drink it straight, loosed with water. You can bring it up. It's usually a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 or 6-to-1 ratio of absinthe to water. It creates a clear white color or a dim green color. And that's traditionally how you would drink it, but you really have to appreciate black licorice. In tiki cocktails, you'll find that Don Beachcomber uses in abundance. The Zombie, for example, usually has a 4 drops to 6 drop usage. Because it's so strong and powerful, you want a little bit of that to bring an underlying character to your drink, but not give you the sense of, oh my god, this is just fucking black licorice in my face. Not cheap. Just saying. And if you wanted something more versatile, I would probably go with clear over green, but either case, it will work for most of the recipes that call for just absinthe. Chartreuse, another color-specific combination. Again, more classic, herbal bomb. So if you like cardamom and you like eucalyptus and you like fennel and you like all those crazy herbal flavors in your grill, these are the spirits that are going to bring you there right quick. You'll find them using stuff like the Bijou. There's a few other recipes that call for chartreuse. You can find both variations in most recipes will tell you green chartreuse or yellow chartreuse because they're slightly different in flavor profile. Buys you the Las Oaxacans, a Oaxacan Jewel smoke show. So think mezcal for the green. Last Word, another drink we've already mentioned, classic. That one. So the Last Word is sort of like one of those drinks that the bartenders know and they think they're really creative and awesome and maybe even hipster for being able to bring it back and use it, and like you're just the newbie. So now you know about the Last Word. I'll give you a link to it. It's definitely spirit forward classic flavor. Not necessarily for newbies, which is why bartenders probably favor it. Yellow Chartreuse, Fifth Amendment, Greenpoint cocktail, Mezcal Mai Tai, Naked and Famous. That's another big drink that we've had a lot of I think views on, probably because it's just got the word naked in it. If you had to choose, I would personally, if you're brand new to this, these are both probably about in the $60 to $70 range. I would go with the yellow chartreuse because it's going to be a little bit subtle on flavor, where green chartreuse definitely has more of an amped up herbal flavor right up in your grill. It will begin to dominate the drink before yellow will. Yellow complements, green dominates. I think you'll notice that newer drinkers or people that are starting to experience some of the more classics will probably adapt well to the yellow. Green is a little bit more of a struggle. Fernet-branca. I know bartenders usually take a shot of this after they're done their shift. It's kind of like the celebratory cult following thing that bartenders do in higher classic places. Probably not the sports bar. You go down to Buffalo Wild Wings and you ask for Fernet-branca, they're probably going to go, what now? But if you're at a classic bar, you might find that this isn't on the back bar, but under here, and probably something that is, if you're in the know, you can order it. Usually shots. Sometimes you can put it into a drink. It is a dominating flavor. If you want to look for the Common Man Sour, where we created a drink ratio video on how you could pretty much take anything and build a balanced cocktail. We chose Fernet-branca because it was so out there on the category list that we wanted to be able to make it more common. This spirit brings to you eucalyptus. You like vapor rub all over, little Vicks rubbed on your chest when you're sick. This will give you a lot of those same exact flavors. You'll find some of the influence of that eucalyptus within the green chartreuse, maybe the yellow chartreuse, and definitely in the Galliano as well. Let's go to Benedictine. Think honey and spices and herbal flavors, probably a little bit more on the sweeter side. The only drink I really know of is a Singapore Sling, off the top of my head, that uses Benedictine. I think it's the only one in recipe.awesomedrinks.com, but I might be wrong on that. I don't recall ever having a drink with Benedictine that wasn't good. However, I also don't remember any other drinks besides the Singapore Sling, so that's telling you something. Galliano, on the other hand, first off, if you're in Europe, there might be a difference here. Galliano in Europe tends to have more vanilla flavor, and I think because there's a variation, this is El Authentico. I'm not Italian, so I might be doing all that wrong. But Galliano has a vanilla forward type flavor. This big old one used in the Harvey Wallbanger and maybe other cocktails definitely has, think of like a sarsaparilla, sweetness, eucalyptus, some more greeny flavors, and a little back end fennel. Again, black licorice. Just smelling it, it has that subtle sambuca absinthe-like essence to it. So you got to be careful with that if you're not into those flavors. I'm going to give you a breakdown of what I think you should buy and what I think you should pass on based on just average audience and the reactions I've seen over the years from both people that have come into my bar, being my basement, and have experimented with some of our cocktails, and what I've heard from viewers. Galliano is typically a hard pass for a lot of people if you're not making Harvey Wallbangers. Also has a lot of orange influence, which works in a Harvey Wallbanger, which is orange vodka and Galliano. So it pairs well. But I believe the history is that the Harvey Wallbanger was kind of the drink that made this popular, and I think since that, it's been the only one to do so. Singapore Sling. So Harvey Wallbanger, Singapore Sling. Otherwise, probably a pass. Unless you're looking to experiment with Benedictine, you could probably use that in substitution or in addition to a daiquiri, a margarita, and be able to give new, unique flavors that you're not normally used to, which is why it's a modifying agent. It's modifying those popular cocktails and giving them a little bit of a different direction, which is how a lot of this stuff came to be to begin with, such as Luxardo Maraschino liqueur. Not something you usually use as a core spirit within any of your cocktails because it will overwhelm your brain. Fernet-branca, for most people, pass. No, I don't know a lot of people who are itching to get themselves up in their business with eucalyptus. Chartreuse, I would say if you want to start experimenting with some of the classics, pick one of them. Personally, go with yellow. green if you're looking for more bold flavor. Absinthe, if you're into tiki cocktails or you have a dusty old cocktail book from like the 1900s and you're like, I want to be able to reproduce some of this stuff, absinthe is a must-have. Or if you just really love the flavor of wormwood and it's not going to make you hallucinate and all the crap that you've heard, that's just, I don't know, fake news. There's other brands out there as well. Pernod is one of the more famous ones. Some cocktails actually call specifically for Pernod. You don't have to do that. You could just get an absinthe. There is an absinthe liqueur as well, which is a sweeter version of this that has that's not overproof. These are going to be way overproof. Think 160 proof or around that area. An absinthe liqueur is going to be a lot less and was what we had before 2007 when they made absinthe legal again because they realized it's not going to make you see pink elephants. Luxardo liqueur, Luxardo maraschino liqueur, like I said, good amount of recipes for this, making it a solid thing to start experimenting with. Ginger liqueur pass. There's tons of ginger product out there unless you really are hard up for more ginger. Elderflower liqueur, if you like your gins, if you're into gin, if you're into tonics and things that have effervescence or bubblies like champagne, Prosecco's, stuff like that, definitely a hard buy on that one. It's not cheap either. They have substitutes for it like St. Elder, but I found St. Elder's, I didn't. Everybody I've served is like, meh. Velvet Falernum, if you're into tiki, it's getting warm, get yourself a bottle of Velvet Falernum, but I'd hard pass on the allspice dram. You can make your own allspice liqueur at home, a little Everclear, little dark rum, light rum to infuse it. Look online, there's going to be some allspice DIY recipes. It's very forward on that flavor, so you can find a way to get that allspice flavor if you really need it. And then Liquor 43, that's really up to you. It's addictive, seductive, sweet, fits in some recipes, can substitute for other recipes, can be used instead of some of that simple syrup as well. So that's that. I would say anything with orange calls for an orange liqueur. And of course, what I suggest is you go to recipe.awesomedrinks.com. Before you buy any of these, do an ingredient search. See what we've recommended and what we've put into our database using these specific spirits. That's going to give you an idea of if you're a fan of the show and you like the cocktails we make, if there's enough cocktails there to justify the purchase. So if you have a video suggestion like Peggy had on maybe a question that you think other people can use or you can use, write it down below and maybe we can make a video in the future that discusses that specific topic. Information sharing is fun. Sidebar, more videos down below is theawesomedrinks.com bartender starter kit. If you need syrups, you need cocktail bitters, you need all that type of stuff to barware, bar gear, awesomedrinks.com is where we want to go to get that because I own it and why wouldn't you want to buy it from me? That's it. We're teaching you how to drink.